Dr. Mindy here, and on this video, we're gonna talk about one of the worst hormones for your fasting efforts, and it's cortisol. And you may be spiking it and you don't even realize it. So I wanna show you all the ways you may be spiking cortisol, and let's work on balancing it out so you can finally get a result with your fasting efforts. Okay, cortisol. Let's start off with just a basic understanding of cortisol. When cortisol spikes, your body becomes more insulin resistant. Ask anybody who's ever tried to lose weight under a stressful life situation. It's not very easy to do. And as we're building these fasting lifestyles, what's really important is to understand where you may inadvertently be spiking cortisol and it's slowing down your fasting efforts. So I'm gonna make this really simple. I'm gonna go to 4 key areas where you might be spiking cortisol, and we're gonna talk about what you can do to mitigate those cortisol spikes so you get even deeper results with fasting. So I like personally to look at 4 basic areas where cortisol comes surging in. The first one is actually fasting. It's kind of a weird dichotomy here because when we fast, we actually spike a little bit of cortisol. Now remember that a little bit of cortisol spike is what we call a hormetic stress. And when we get a little bit of stress, our body adapts really well. So, and often will grow itself stronger. So if you've been following my teachings, hopefully you know that I am such a fan of fasting variations, where we go into some longer fasts, and then we do some shorter fasts. Some days we don't fast, some days we try 3-day water fasts. And the reason for that is because that variation makes sure that cortisol doesn't stay high all the time. A place where fasting has fallen apart for people is when we're doing the same thing over and over again, specifically with what we call the OMADers, 1 meal a day. When you go into a fasted state greater than about 13 hours, cortisol is going to start to rise. So if you're doing that every single day, your body actually thinks every single day it's being chased by a tiger, and it will eventually catch up with you and make it very difficult to lose weight and to get a deeper healing response. So my number one tip for mitigating cortisol when fasting is vary your fasts, and I've got a lot of videos on that. Second tip that I really want you to sink in is food that is chemically processed with toxic ingredients is stressful to your body. And when you're eating this highly processed food, which by the way, here in America, that's 60% of the food in our grocery stores, which is ridiculous. That shouldn't be the case, but it is. So 60% of foods that you get in your grocery store are going to be processed with the wrong oils, high in sugar, and most likely are going to spike cortisol. So if you're struggling to get a good fasting result, you're varying your fasts, I want you to start to think at your food and look at your food and ask yourself, is it possible that you are eating toxic food that is causing cortisol to go up, and it's causing your body to not let go of weight? It's causing you to not get that deeper healing effect with fasting. So clean food. I will even take it one step further and say, remember, I'm a huge fan of nature's carbs. So when we look at a carb, not all carbs are equal. I would way rather, if you're gonna step out of ketosis, I would way rather have you eat a banana than eat a candy bar. Those two are not going to equate to the same cortisol response in your body. So look at your clean food, look at eating nature's carbs, let's get the toxic processed ingredients out, let's get the toxic oils out. They are absolutely spiking cortisol. And by the way, I probably should have said this in the beginning, do you know where all that extra cortisol goes? Not only does it make you insulin resistant, but your body stores it as fat. So that's a double whammy there. Okay, third place that we're spiking cortisol is exercise. Okay, how can that be? doesn't make sense that we would do something great like exercise and spike cortisol. Well, when we're pushing our body and we're going on long runs, and I'm not saying that this isn't the right thing for you to do, I just want you to think this through. When you're pushing yourself metabolically through exercise, whether it's CrossFit or a hard workout at the gym or a long run, you want to make sure you've got some recovery days. Because you're going to come in with a strong cortisol response in your body. And again, we're going to start to see challenges with what you're doing with your fasting effects. So let's make sure you're varying your exercise. So go ahead and push it hard, but then do you follow it up with recovery days? Do you follow it up with yoga? Do you get out and just walk in nature and get out and just enjoy the sun? Every workout doesn't have to be a killer workout. And I am saying this as an ex-competitive athlete who used to work her fanny off all the time pushing cortisol, and it eventually almost broke my body. I had to come and look at exercise variation just like I look at fasting variation. Okay, I gotta interrupt this video because I have a free guide for you so you can master fasting. It's called A Beginner's Guide to a Fasting Lifestyle, and all you've got to do is click here and you can jump right in. And then the thing we always think about with cortisol is our mindset. And this is really, really true, and this is coming from the deepest place of my heart to you all today, is that when we start to build a fasting lifestyle, mindset matters. If you are fasting and eating toxic food and exercising a whole bunch to hopefully lose weight, and you're sitting at home thinking negative thoughts, watching the news, talking to other people who are negative, you're getting a mega dose of cortisol and you will never lose weight. You will never get the health you want. We have to start looking at our mindset when it comes to healing. So ask yourself, how are you talking to yourself? Are you saying start with yourself. Are you saying kind things to yourself? What are you reading? What kind of input is going in? What are you watching? Who are you talking to? If each one of these environments is negative, you're going to be negative in your mind. And when you're negative in your mind, talking to yourself poorly all the time, or a majority of the time, cortisol is going to spike. With this one, for me, I feel like it's like a pebble in your shoe. It's there, it's irritating, you might not notice it, but when you remove it, all of a sudden you realize how much better you feel. So the greatest way, in my opinion, to change your thoughts is to start listening to people who are positive, hang around people who are forward thinkers, turn off the TV, start reading things that inspire you, immerse yourself in a positive environment. So, I've never done a video like this before, and the reason is because I didn't necessarily know what you all needed and where you were getting stuck with fasting. And recently, a lot of you have given us the feedback that you're doing all the things. You're doing all the right things, and you're still not getting the result you want. So let's look at cortisol. Follow those 4 things that I just talked about. The hardest one is going to be this one. You might need a vast toolbox for it. So be patient with yourself, have grace with yourself. Remember, you cannot heal a body you hate. Healing takes time, so enjoy the process, be curious about it, and fall in love with this incredible body that you have been gifted to live in. Okay, where are my gals that are struggling with hormonal imbalance? Bloated, feeling like you're not making progress with weight loss? You need to add these foods in so that you can support better hormonal health. There is a lifestyle that estrogen wants you to live, and there is a lifestyle that progesterone wants you to live.